The stock NVDA was a clear winner in the year of 2024 and it has the potential to be yet another big time winner in the year 2025. But right now the stock is pulled back quite a bit from all-time highs. And with that being said, I am loading up on shares right now on NVIDIA. The opportunity is here and we're going to see a massive reversal back up to the upside.
I don't care if you're Warren Buffett or if you're Jimmy Buffett, nobody knows if the stock is going to go up, down, sideways, or in fucking circles.
But just when and at what price should you be buying in and selling those shares? Let's get into the video. So taking a look at the stock, you can see that it really hasn't done a whole lot in the past couple months. The stock has slowly died down, especially since about September. We've hit these highs up here around the 150 area, specifically 153.13. We can mark that out as our clear resistance. We've touched it once and touched it twice here. Clear resistance point we couldn't break through. Now a support area I definitely want to make note on, and a very important one, is this clear 130 path. This 130 area is definitely a line that I want to say is a very strong area of support, especially if we zoom in here and kind of check at a shorter term time frame. We've seen the stock bounce several times on this 130 area. We've seen it bounce once, we've seen it bounce twice, we've seen it bounce 3 times, 4 times, 5, 6, 7, and now an 8th time. So we've seen it bounce multiple times and multiple different days, and after it bounces, it tends to hold above this area. So it's a great area of support. The last time that we saw it below was when we didn't break above. So once we broke above 130 resistance and now turned into support, and has been holding as support since then. So until we break this 130 support, this is an easy and clear area for an entry point. So step one, find the entry point, which is $130, somewhere in this price range, ideally 134 and less, down to that 130 area. This is the ideal price range. Okay, that's your low end of the price range. You get the middle section, 135 to 142, 145. That's where the stock has been on average trading, and there's a really strong opportunity that you'll still get a bunch of upside from it, because of the fact that we have so much to our first resistance point. Now, the higher end of the spectrum is this 150, 153 area. This is where resistance is at. We got to be careful, because if we're taking a short-term swing trade or even going a little bit long-term here, depending on what you're looking to do, this is kind of what we have to watch out for, is this resistance area. Now we're still holding above our long-term SMA line here, but we bounced and got rejected off this 153 pretty hard to the downside. If you look back here, you can see that since this 153, I mean, we dropped down to 140, and then another day dropped down, hitting lows 137, dropped again 135, and now today hit this 130 area, bounced several times on the day, and you could just see this clear area of support, which is great to point out, because once we hit that support, we bounced off of it. But I want to watch for tomorrow and see whether or not this stock is going to be able to hold the support. Look at clearly, we looked at this from a 180-day chart. If you look on the daily chart, the 5-day, 5-minute, you could see clearly on the day we hit it twice right here and tested close a third time over here in the morning. This is a clear area of support. So what does that mean for me moving forward with this one, as now that we have found that support area? We look to take a trade with it. It's that simple. We're going to be entering into a trade somewhere here between $130 and $134 and loading up shares, because this is going to reverse back up to the upside. And when we start to see that rally again into NVIDIA, those shares are going to help potentially push through this 153. So we definitely got to watch for the 153 area. And if we could push through 153, this is going to easily 160 to 165 area. That's the next area that I'm kind of watching for, but there's really no resistance in between that. So you're taking a stock that, let's start adding in our shares down here around 130, 132, 133, 134. We have an average of, let's say, $132. You take those shares at $132, somewhere in this range where it is right now, and you trade up to our first resistance area, you could see we have about 16% of upside to 153. Downside to that support area, you have anywhere from about 2%, maybe 2.5% of downside, somewhere in this range. You would sell out below absolutely 127 area, unless you wanted to look a little bit longer term. But if you're looking the short term, this is what we got to take into consideration. If you're looking longer term, we have more support areas that are below us down by 125 and 120, and especially this red SMA line right here. But taking a look, we have about 2% of downside to our lowest support area, and we have about 16% of upside. If we break through that resistance, that 16 quickly turns into 20 plus. So there's a lot of opportunities to start loading into NVIDIA stock. I really like this one going into 2025. There's a couple other names out there, Broadcom especially. We got to watch out for that one. Marvel Technologies, another one that we've talked about here on the channel. AMD, I know they aren't performing right now as well as some of the other names, but AMD is definitely another one I want to watch on for. So there's a lot of AI chip making stock names that I want to watch out for the year, and this one especially right now, this is where we're going to start loading into the stock, because once we see the next big push into AI, which will happen sometime this year, whether it's in the next couple weeks, next couple months, there's going to be multiple occasions where we start to see AI stocks get pushed higher, like we saw with electric vehicle car makers like Tesla. We saw companies like Tesla and Tesla, of course, that rallied throughout 2020, and we saw massive gains from that, and we just had to be there at the right time. So we're loading into the stock on its down days, because anytime there's a down day at a company that you believe in and you did your due diligence with, you're going to see those returns come back in the future. So guys, let me know what you think about the stock NVIDIA and loading some of those shares in. Now there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of upside with this one, so I definitely want to take this one into consideration when taking a trade into it. Loading up at this 130 area, in my opinion, is a great deal, looking forward for either the short term or the long term. So you have the entry point, you have your resistance for a potential exit point. You have your second resistance up here for some all-time high potential. You have the entry point for a short-term trade. Look at it, are you trading short-term? Are you trading long-term? What are you looking to trade here? And you have your entry point set up. Remember, when you buy into these stocks, you have to buy in with small increments at a time. Unless you're going for a big-time trade, just buy in with small increments. Buy a couple shares here, buy a couple shares there. Do what you got to do to be able to get that average price down. Something like today, if you went all in at 135 this morning around 9:30 when market opened, you would have been stuck around an average price of 135. If you buy a couple shares here, buy a couple shares here, buy a couple shares here, and a couple shares here, your average price is somewhere here in 132 range, which is a lot better and a lot better for your long-term outlook into it, because you have a lower average cost price. So let me know what you think about the stock NVIDIA. Definitely, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them down below in the comments section. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.